question I'm often asked is, should you mat your art prints when you're selling them at art fairs? So in this video, I'm going to go over the pros and cons of matting your prints. First things first though, my name's Crystal. I'm a full-time artist. I sell at art fairs all around the Midwest. I've been doing this for the last 10 years. I also sell my work online, but I make about 80% of my income off of selling my art prints. So I have a lot of experience with this, and I've tried both selling prints unmatted and matted. And so here's the first thing you have to consider is the cost. When you're buying mats, you're probably gonna need to buy them in bulk on Amazon. I've linked some of my favorite kind of mats in the description if you wanna check them out. But the main thing is you want them to be acid-free. So you're gonna have to pay just a little bit more for the acid-free mats. Why you want them acid-free is that if you get mats that are not archival, that means that they have acid in them. The inner part here where there is a bevel, it will start to yellow over time. And back at the beginning of my art career, I matted a lot of pieces with mats that were not archival because I needed to save money on them. And then a couple years later, they had the yellow cores and it didn't look very good. So if you want your work to look really quality and stand the test of time, you need to use archival materials, not only for the prints, but also for the mats. And so yeah, these cost a little bit more, but you can get them in 10 packs on Amazon for about $3 for each mat. Also for our example here, let's say you're matting an 8x10 because 8x10s are probably the most popular size that artists are selling at art fairs. So I have here an 8x10 mat to put this on. Now, if you are considering the price difference between an 8x10, this just all ready to go with your backing board and your bag, and then your 8x10 that's going to be matted, you're going to need the same supplies. You got to have the backing board and you got to have the bag. It's also a good idea to have some archival hinging tape. This is the kind that I recommend. Everything I discuss in the video will be linked in the description. You want it to be archival because this will be touching your print, and you don't want anything to ever touch your prints that's not archival, especially if you are selling them as giclée prints, as fine art prints. Now, just to compare the price difference between no mat and a mat on an 8x10 size print, my prints, since I make them myself, cost me $1.35 to make for my 8x10 size without a mat. Now, if I was going to add one of the archival mats that I could buy in bulk on Amazon, it would raise my cost to $4.35 on average, maybe a tad bit more, but we're going to call it $4.35. Now, it's important to consider this because you have to pass this cost on to your customers. Now, I sell my 8x10 size prints for around $20 at art fairs. This is a really good price. People don't question much about spending $20 on an art print. But if I were selling my art prints as the 11x14 matted size, I'd have to charge more. Of course, since they are larger and they do have a mat, customers will see that they are worth more money. But I don't think I could charge more than $25 a piece for them. So basically, I would just be passing on the cost to my customers. If I did want to double my money on my investment on the mats, I'd have to charge $30 for my 8x10 prints that have the 11x14 inch mat on them. And so the problem with this is that customers don't really want to pay an extra $10 for a print that is the same size that they could get without a mat, because most times you can go to a store like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or even Walmart and get an 11x14 inch frame that comes with an 8x10 mat. So it's just easy enough for the customer to slide the print in there and secure it with a couple of pieces of tape. Even if it's not archival, if they are doing this themselves, they want to save the money. And so this is something to really consider because you want people, when they come in your booth, to buy. You don't want to make it extra hard to sell to them by having a price that's higher than they want to spend. And the $20 price point is a really good selling price point. Another thing to consider is storage space and how you're transporting your art prints to and from shows. I know for me, I have a small minivan, and so I don't have room to carry any extra bulk with me. I need to have everything very streamlined. And so leaving the mats behind and just taking the loose prints in the bags and then allowing the customer to find a frame that has a mat, It is much better when it comes to space saving, and that's crucial for me. They're also a lot lighter weight because if you think about it, the mats weigh something that each print adds weight on there. And if you have, let's say, 100 prints that you're transporting, the amount of weight in the prints that have the mats is more and harder to carry and transport in and out of the shows, especially if you have a hard time lifting things like I do. So having the prints without the mats is definitely a good choice on that aspect as well. Another thing to consider is the amount of your time it takes to mount your prints, because it definitely takes longer to do this even if you get your mats pre-cut than it does just to bag the prints unmatted. Next thing to consider is damage, because oftentimes when you're at shows, you have customers taking prints out of the bin and then oops, they'll drop them on the ground and the corner will get dinged up. Or maybe their kid will have something that you didn't tell them to keep out of your art booth, like food, that they will spill in your print bin. Now, if your prints only cost $1.35 a piece, if one gets dinged up and you just have to throw it away because customers don't want to buy a dinged up print or something that has ice cream spilled on it, for example, if something like that happens, you're not out a ton of money. But if you have $4.35 in each print and you damage one, that's like almost $5 you're losing. What if an entire print bin full gets damaged of, let's say, 100 of them? Well, $135 to lose versus $435 to lose is a big difference. Likewise, if you're thinking about investing your money in your artwork, investing $135 for 100 prints is a big difference than investing $435 for 100 prints. And in my case, I usually take anywhere from 700 to 900 prints to my art fairs. And this makes matting a huge difference for me in the amount of money that I have to invest to do a show. And you're likely thinking about it in a similar way. But I would like to caution you because there are some shows that will not let you in unless you have matted prints. And so what you want to do if you're applying to shows on something like Zapplication is make sure to read through all of the show rules. If they have a rule that your prints should be matted and you want to do a lot of these higher end shows that require that, then you probably should mat your prints. But 95% of shows do not require you to mat your prints. And so that's why I don't mat my prints, and I've never matted my prints for many years. I sell lots of prints at the shows, and I've had my best selling years when it comes to prints without having them matted. So I think I can confidently say that you do not need to mat your prints. Next, if you're wondering how I make my prints and how I get the cost down to $1.35 a piece, check out this playlist. It shows you exactly how to make your own art prints at home. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.